Video game creepypastas have always been really fascinating to me. Usually it takes a family-friendly property and it mutates it into something disturbing, something sinister. So imagine that you're a young child, you're the first generation to grow up with the internet at your fingertips. A rumor of a song from your favorite game franchise that causes children to take their own lives. Would you listen to it? Sure, you know it's probably not real, but what if it is?
Happy spooky season, everybody. I'm gavco.lol, and today I want to talk to you about the Lavender Town Syndromes. A horse that has been beaten far past death, but in true Halloween fashion, I'm here to necromance and stitch it together Frankenweenie style. While this story has been talked about a lot, I've noticed that it's talked about a lot less now. So that means that I have to be the grandfather on his deathbed to pass down this oral tradition to the younger generation. You guys have Momo, we have Lavender Town. Every generation has their childhood trauma. But I also just want to talk about the psychology of it, and why we as humans can believe something so outrageous even if it is just a slight suspicion. The story goes that shortly after the Pokémon games, Pokémon Red and Pokémon Green released on February 27th, 1996 in Japan, Japan experienced a spike in suicide rate of Japanese youth 7 to 12. And here a correlation with the in-game location of Lavender Town was made. This was an eerie location in the original Pokemon Game Boy games where Pokemon were buried. And it was in this town that a very specific song was played. It was a song with a frequency that only children could hear. And it was this frequency that caused extreme headaches, nausea, erratic behavior, and even suicide. The song that you are listening to as we speak. So have I doomed you all by making you listen to this song? No. But there's enough truths here that sound real that it has tricked a lot of people into believing this. One example of this is that there is actually frequencies that only children can hear. One example of this is CRT televisions. Whenever I turned them on as a kid, I heard this horrible, ear-splitting noise that nobody else could hear. I just thought of another example, but this is a very specific memory, so bear with me. In the nicest way possible, my parents are Disney adults. Without a doubt, we have gone on more Disney cruises than I can count. The last one that I went on gave me the worst illness that I've ever felt in my entire life, but that is a story for another day. But the Disney cruises in the Bahamas always brought you to their private island called Castaway Cay. And here the buffet was outside, and there was just an ungodly amount of birds in the air. So in order to keep the birds away, Disney played this horrible high-pitched noise that only the birds could hear. Well, birds and children, I guess, because that was horrible. As for a peak in suicide rates, I can confidently say that that is just not true. I made an entire video about the satanic panic of the 1990s, and trust me, there was a lot of people trying to make every single connection possible to games being immoral, brainwashing, and even the Antichrist. And when I say that, I mean really searched for connections.
But the one thing I noticed about him right off, this is Pikachu, one thing I noticed about him right off was his tail. It's a lightning bolt, and it's the Satanic Z.
Okay, one more. I just find these really funny.
Here's the next character. This is Misty, and she's described as Ash's companion, and listen to what it says about her. She's headstrong and stubborn, constantly arguing with Ash. Typical woman.
But if there was a legitimate link between video games and suicide rates, don't you think Mr. Mullet would be on the case? Another example that we can pull from is Den-O Senshi Porygon. I'm sure all of you have heard of this episode from the Pokemon anime, but if you haven't, it's about, you guessed it, Porygon. And during a fight, Pikachu stops missiles with a thunderbolt attack, resulting in an explosion where colors red and blue flash rapidly. This caused blurred vision, headaches, nausea, blindness, convulsions, and even seizures. Japan's Fire Defense Agency reported 685 viewers were taken to the hospital. This got national news exposure and made a huge controversy even though nobody died. So if Pokemon actually caused death, then it would be on national news overnight. So am I telling you that all of this is fake, and if you are experiencing symptoms from listening to the song that they're just not real? No, not exactly, but bear with me. The symptoms such as headaches and nausea could have very well been real, but not the causes behind them. I could go into depth about how the notes are designed to make you feel on edge and uncomfortable, but I only have 1 year of saxophone from high school, so I don't think I know enough about music to be able to do that. But what I can talk about is how this relates to mass hysteria and the placebo effect. Mass hysteria is defined as the spread of illness symptoms through a population where there is no infectious agent responsible for the contagion. In simpler words, it's an infection in a group of people without a cause. Think of the dancing plague, where people started dancing uncontrollably for weeks on end and just couldn't stop. Or the nuns who started meowing very loudly, all in unison for days on end. However, the case of mass hysteria that I think links back to the Lavender Town Syndromes the best is the June bug outbreak. In June of 1963, 62 workers of a dressmaking factory reported nausea and skin breakouts, which a majority of them thought was due to bugs in the fabric biting them. In order to get to the bottom of this, entomologists were brought in, but no evidence of bugs or pathogens were found. Just because we think that there's something wrong with our body, our brain convinces our body that there actually is. That's where the placebo effect and its edgy brother, the nocebo effect, come in. I'm sure you know what the placebo effect is. It's where you take fake pills, but since you think that they're gonna help you, it actually does. But the nocebo effect is essentially the placebo effect's evil brother. It's essentially when you're told that something's really gonna hurt, so your mind tricks you that it actually does hurt. Think of a doctor giving you a shot. The doctor tells you, oh, this is really gonna hurt, you better brace for it. Since you're expecting it to hurt, it's probably gonna hurt a lot more than it should. So that all links back to the song. If there's a song that people are telling you causes headaches and nausea, when you listen to it, you'll probably experience those symptoms. Since you think it's true, your mind will convince your body that it actually is. Oh, also real quick, there's supposedly a beta version of the song that sounds like this. But I don't think it's real because I can't find any information online about them changing the song. Well, I mean in the original version. Obviously they changed it for Let's Go Pikachu and Silver and Gold. Next, I really want to dive into internet urban legends and what it's like hearing it as a child. You see, now that I'm an adult, I have a whole different view on things that scared me as a kid. Except Smile Dog, that is still a horrible, hellish image no matter how much time passes. But when you're a kid on the internet, you don't really know what's real and what's fake. What if Smile Dog kills me because I didn't share his image to 5 people? What if, in the middle of the night, Golden Freddy gets me while I'm trying to use the bathroom? No, Chica's actually a lot scarier. Those FNAF VHS tapes really do her dirty. She looks just nasty. So when you're a kid being told that there's a song that causes hundreds of children to take their own lives, wouldn't you think twice before you listen to it? And when you finally get the bravery to listen to it, you'll notice that there's actually nothing wrong with it. Things are a lot less scary when you take a look at the big picture. The only scary thing that we learned today is how little control we have over our own bodies. That being said, can you confidently say that there isn't just a small little sliver of your mind that tells you not to listen to it? Then again, there is a lot scarier things in the Pokemon universe, like I'd rather go to Lavender Town than meet a Typhlosion.